The antique grandfather clock in the corner of the law office chimed 3 as Mr. Lawson flipped through the final pages of my grandmother's will. My brother, Adam, lounged across from me in his designer suit, wearing that all-too-familiar smirk of someone convinced he'd won before the game even started. Beside him, my sister Bianca tapped her freshly manicured nails against the armrest, glancing at her phone between sighs. I'm Eliza Warren, the youngest of 3 siblings and, if you ask my family, the underachiever. Adam runs a flashy fintech startup in Seattle. Bianca owns a boutique real estate firm in Miami. Me? I'm 32, a conservationist working in rural Oregon, spending my days restoring wetlands and advocating for sustainable land use. To them, I was always the odd one out. Mr. Lawson cleared his throat and adjusted his glasses. Now, regarding the estate of Eleanor Warren. I caught my reflection in the glass pane of a nearby bookshelf, messy bun, flannel shirt, hiking pants still dusted with trail dirt from that morning's fieldwork. I looked exactly how my siblings saw me, the black sheep. To my grandson, Adam Warren, Mr. Lawson read, I leave the financial portfolio, currently valued at approximately $3.8 million. Adam's grin widened, self-satisfaction practically radiating off him. He'd been managing those accounts the last few years, calling Grandma weekly to check in, while subtly angling for her approval. To my granddaughter, Bianca Warren, Mr. Lawson continued, I leave my downtown Charleston properties, 2 commercial storefronts and 3 rental homes. Bianca finally looked up, smiling faintly. Those properties were worth more than $5 million easily. She'd been helping Grandma modernize the spaces for years. And to my granddaughter, Eliza Warren, Mr. Lawson hesitated, glancing at me. I leave the family homestead in Maple Hollow, including all surrounding land, outbuildings, and equipment. Silence stretched for 3 seconds before Adam let out a full belly laugh. The farm? You've got to be kidding. Bianca snorted, already tapping a message on her phone. That place hasn't made money since the 90s. I mean, Eliza likes dirt. So, sure. I sat there, heat rising to my cheeks, but I kept my voice even. Are there any conditions on the inheritance? Mr. Lawson nodded, relieved by a serious question. Just one. The property cannot be sold for at least 1 year from the date of transfer. Adam's laughter got louder. 1 year? That place is a money pit. You'll be calling us for help by Christmas. Bianca stood, sliding her sunglasses onto her head. Well, maybe you can start a goat yoga retreat or something. Sounds very, you. They walked out still chuckling, already making dinner plans. Mr. Lawson waited until the door clicked shut behind them. Then he reached into his briefcase. There's one more thing, Miss Warren. Your grandmother left this for you. He handed me an envelope, yellowed at the edges, my name written in her elegant cursive, Eliza. His handwriting was a bit shaky, Mr. Lawson said gently, but he was very clear that you were to receive this only after your siblings had left. I took the envelope carefully, recognizing the aged paper from Grandma Eleanor's old writing desk. The faint smell of lavender and tobacco still clung to it. Inside was a single folded letter, written in the neat, looping script I'd seen 1,000 times in her recipe books and trail maps. My dearest Eliza. By now, you've heard about the farm. Adam and Bianca will think I've punished you. But they never really understood what this land is, what it's always been. They see dirt and weeds and broken fences. But you've always seen the promise in things others walk past. Remember the stories I told you when you were little? About why the barn stands where it does? About what we found in the soil, hidden beneath? It's time to find out whether those stories were true. The key enclosed unlocks the cabinet in my study. Inside, you'll find everything you need to understand what this land truly holds. Trust yourself, my little firefly. You're the only one who ever looked closely enough to see the light in the dark. With all my love. Grandma. A small brass key slipped from the envelope and into my palm. It was cool and worn, the kind of key that felt like it belonged to something old and important. I looked up. Mr. Lawson was watching me curiously. "Did you know about this?" He shook his head. "Your grandmother kept many things to herself, especially in her later years. But she always spoke fondly of you. Said you had a rare eye for potential, for truth." That evening, I drove to the farm alone. The spring sun was melting behind the hills, casting a golden glow over the worn-out buildings. The barn doors were slightly ajar, creaking in the breeze. Wildflowers had begun to reclaim the fence lines. Inside the farmhouse, everything was just as she'd left it. Books lined every wall, charts and seed packets spilled across the dining table. Her study felt frozen in time, maps spread across the desk, mugs half filled with dried tea leaves, her favorite shawl draped over the leather reading chair. The locked cabinet stood quietly in the corner. My hand trembled as I turned the key. The door creaked open. Inside were rows of weathered notebooks, geological surveys, mineral samples, and hand-drawn maps of the land, decades of meticulous observation. But it was the small leather-bound journal resting on top that caught my breath. The first entry was dated June 3, 1962. Today I confirmed it. The rock samples beneath the north barn aren't natural. The layers indicate significant mineral presence, but the radiation level suggests something else. Something much rarer. I won't say more until I'm sure, but I believe the land holds one of the richest rare earth element deposits in North America. I sank into her old chair, heart pounding. Page after page detailed her research, the barn's foundation placed deliberately over the strongest signals, the planting patterns changed over time to avoid suspicion. She'd covered it all with compost and crops, and with stories, just for me. The final entry was dated 2 weeks before she died. "Eliza will find this. She's the only one who listened. The only one who knew this land is more than just soil and memory. Adam and Bianca see what they want. But Eliza sees what's truly there. She always has." Tears blurred the ink as I closed the journal, the key still warm in my hand. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like the family disappointment. I felt chosen. "They want quick profits and easy money," the journal read. "They'll never have the patience to discover what's beneath their feet. But Eliza, she has my curiosity. My determination. She'll know what to do with this knowledge." I stayed up the entire night poring over Grandma's notes, flipping through decades of observations and geological analyses. By the time the sun crept over the ridge and bathed the fields in gold, I knew 2 things with absolute certainty. She had been right about the mineral deposits, and I was holding information worth millions, maybe even billions. My phone buzzed on the windowsill. A message from Adam. "Hope you're enjoying the dirt farm. Let me know when you're ready to sell it cheap. I might know some developers who'd take it off your hands." I smiled, watching the early morning mist settle over the fields and drift lazily toward the old barn. I typed back, "No thanks. I think I'll hang on to it for a while." If only he knew what was really buried beneath this worthless dirt. The first person I called was Dr. Sarah Chen, my mentor, former professor, and the one person I trusted to help verify the findings without drawing unwanted attention. "Rare earth elements," she murmured, eyes scanning the surveys I'd laid out across the workbench in the barn. "Your grandmother tracked these patterns for decades." The woman was brilliant. I nodded and pointed to a set of more recent readings. "She used outdated tools, but the results are consistent. I think the entire northern slope is sitting on a massive deposit." Sarah walked the perimeter of the barn, handheld scanners softly beeping as she moved. Finally, she stopped, her expression unusually serious. "Eliza, if these readings hold up, this isn't just a deposit. This could be one of the most significant rare earth element discoveries in North America." I already understood what that meant. These elements were vital in everything, from smartphones to solar panels to electric vehicle batteries. Even military-grade technology depended on them. And right now, most of the world's supply was controlled by China. A find like this? On U.S. soil? Invaluable. "We need to confirm this properly," Sarah said, already pulling out her phone. "I know a few people." trusted geologists. We'll do this quietly. Over the next several weeks, a small team worked in secret under the cover of night, using advanced equipment Grandma could have only dreamed of. What they found confirmed her suspicions, and then some. The deposit spans over 300 acres, Dr. Chen explained, showing me stunning 3D imaging rendered from underground scans. Preliminary estimates suggest over 100,000 metric tons of extractable rare earth elements. At current market prices, I whispered, that's not millions. Billions, she finished with a nod. And the demand for these elements is only going up. She leaned closer. But Eliza, you need to be careful. Once this leaks. She didn't need to say more. I already knew. My phone was buzzing non-stop, texts, calls, vague voicemails. Word had started to spread. Bianca's message was full of false warmth. Hey sis. Just checking in. Hope the whole farming thing is going okay. If you need help with property taxes or anything. Adams was less subtle. Heard you've had some scientists poking around. Something I should know about? I didn't reply to either of them. Instead, I looked out the barn window at the land Grandma had loved, and hidden, for decades. She'd trusted me to protect it. To unlock its true potential. And I wasn't about to let anyone take that away. I have a right to know what's happening, Adam's message read. As the sibling with financial expertise, I should be included in any decisions involving the property. Bianca had left 3 voicemails in a row, each more syrupy than the last. I ignored them both. I had more important things to focus on. I needed capital to move forward with developing the discovery, but it had to be done carefully. If word got out too soon, I'd have mining conglomerates knocking down my door and trying to wrestle away control before I could even breathe. That's when luck showed up wearing worn hiking boots and a Patagonia jacket. Through Sarah's network, I was introduced to James Wong, a venture capitalist who specialized in mineral resource development. More importantly, he understood the need for discretion. He wasn't one of those slick Wall Street types looking for a quick flip. He was measured, deliberate. The potential here is unprecedented, he said, walking beside me through the northern pasture as his field analyst took readings. But the real risk is in careless extraction. Rush the process, and you lose everything, financially and environmentally. I liked him immediately. He asked about long-term impact before bringing up return on investment. He didn't flinch when I outlined my commitment to sustainable mining practices and ecological preservation. I can provide initial funding, he said as we reached the barn, enough to secure your permits, assemble a team, and begin preliminary development. In return, my firm gets a minority stake. But you retain controlling interest. It was more than fair, it was ideal. But before I could sign anything, my siblings forced my hand. I came home one evening to find Adam's sleek black BMW in the driveway. Bianca sat on the porch steps in a crisp white blazer and high-end boots, trying to look concerned but failing to mask the glint of greed in her eyes. Eliza, we need to talk, Adam said, slipping into his fake big brother tone. We're worried about you. Really? I said, leaning against the porch railing. Because you haven't been worried about me in at least 10 years. Bianca stood and folded her arms, all soft smiles and sharp angles. We know you've been meeting with investors. This kind of project, it's too much for one person. You need our expertise. I tilted my head. Like the way you handled Grandma's investment portfolio? The one that underperformed the market by 40%? Adam flinched. That's not, how did you? I read her financial records, I said simply. Unlike you, I actually read everything she left behind. Bianca stepped closer. Look, whatever you've found out here, you need help. We have connections. Experience. No, I said, my voice calm but final. What you have is regret. You mocked this place, called it worthless. And now that you think it might be worth something, suddenly you care? Adam's mask slipped. We're your family. We have a right to be part of this. I laughed, really laughed. Family? When was the last time either of you visited Grandma? Do you even remember what crops she grew? What she loved about this land? They exchanged awkward glances. I'll make this simple, I said, standing straighter. This is my inheritance. Grandma gave it to me because she knew I'd understand its true value, not just what it might be worth in dollars. Bianca opened her mouth, but I cut her off. If you're that curious about what I've found, you'll have to read about it in the papers like everyone else. You'll regret this, Adam snapped. We can make things very difficult for you. I stepped forward until I was nearly eye to eye with him. My voice didn't shake. No, Adam. You'll be the one who regrets underestimating me. I can't, I said, stepping forward, my voice steady. Because unlike you, I actually learned something from Grandma. Adam froze. I learned how to protect what matters. How to think long-term. You want to cause trouble? Go ahead. But remember, I have everything. All of Grandma's records. Including some very interesting notes about your investment strategies. Bianca's hand shot out to grab Adam's arm just as his face began to turn red. Come on, she hissed under her breath. This isn't over, Eliza. I watched them storm off, kicking up dust as their overpriced car peeled out onto the dirt road. I didn't even flinch. The moment they were gone, I dialed James Wong. I'm ready, I said. Let's do it. But I want a clause added to the contract. No shares can be sold or transferred to members of my family. Ever. He chuckled. Already done. Your grandmother warned me about them years ago. I blinked. Wait, what? You didn't know, he said, amused. Eleanor and I go way back. I'm the one who helped her verify the first core samples. I nearly dropped the phone. You knew her? Harold and I were old friends, he said softly. She asked me to keep an eye on you when the time came. Tears welled in my eyes as I looked out over the land. My land. Even now, Grandma was protecting me, guiding me from beyond. The following weeks moved fast. Environmental impact assessments, mineral rights filings, permits, security measures, everything had to be airtight. Through it all, I could feel the pressure building. I knew Adam and Bianca were watching, scheming, but they didn't understand the most important thing. I had something they didn't, patience. Patience, and purpose. Then came the day I had both anticipated and dreaded. The official announcement was going live. By tomorrow, the world would know what had been hidden beneath this humble farm for decades. The secret Grandma had entrusted only to me. I sat alone in her study, rereading the press release on my laptop one last time. It was simple, direct, rare earth deposit discovered in Oregon's Maple Hollow, potential to reshape global supply chain. Tomorrow, my siblings would understand exactly what they had laughed at. What they dismissed. But tonight, as the sun dipped behind the hills, I opened Grandma's journal one last time. Her final note stared back at me. Remember, Eliza, true value isn't just in what you find. It's in how you choose to use it. Make me proud. I will, I whispered. I promise. The next morning, I rose early and sat on the porch swing with a mug of coffee in my hands. The air was crisp and full of electricity. I watched the mist roll across the pasture. Headlines were already flashing across every news channel and business site. Massive rare earth discovery in rural Oregon. Warren farm find could disrupt global mineral markets. U.S. gains ground in rare earth race. At exactly 7:01 a.m., my phone rang. Adam. I let it ring twice before answering. Good morning, I said, my voice calm. Is it true? He blurted. The farm, the minerals, all of it. It's true, I said. Grandma discovered it years ago. She just needed someone patient enough to understand its worth. You have to let us in, he said quickly. This affects the whole family. We have contacts, experience. I smiled into the phone. Like your experience calling it a worthless dirt farm? He fell silent. I don't need your help, Adam, I said. And Grandma didn't either. That's why she gave it to me. Adam's experience? You mean the kind that tanked a third of Grandma's investments? Or maybe Bianca's expertise in ridiculing every career decision I ever made? That kind of valuable input? Before he could respond, another call buzzed in, Bianca. Then another, our parents. Then the local news. Investment firms. Mining companies. Everyone suddenly wanted a piece of the very thing they had all rolled their eyes at just a few months ago. I let most of them go to voicemail. But I did take one call, Mr. Lawson, Grandma's lawyer. Your grandmother would be proud, he said warmly. She always believed you were the only one who understood the value of patience. Around noon, a sleek black sedan rolled into the driveway. Adam and Bianca stepped out dressed for damage control, tailored suits, polished shoes, forced smiles. They looked completely out of place, like city slickers at a county fair, the kind who get dirt on their cuffs and panic. Eliza. Bianca called, striding toward the porch. We've been trying to reach you all morning. I stayed seated on the old porch swing, cradling my mug. Whatever you're here to propose, I said, calm and steady, the answer is no. Adam adjusted his cuffs and gave me his best serious business tone. Just hear us out. We've already spoken to some investors, major firms. This could turn into billions. I nodded slowly. It already has. I pulled a folder from the table beside me and handed it over. Inside was the latest valuation report from James Wong's firm. The numbers were staggering, nearly $100 billion in projected value, assuming responsible extraction and sustainable development. They both froze. Their eyes scanned the first page, then the second. The blood drained from Bianca's face. But, how, she stammered. You can't have arranged all this on your own. Actually, I did, I said. Well, me, and the people Grandma trusted. Not the people who abandoned her. I stood, my voice growing stronger. Did you know she spent her final years studying geology? Took night classes, analyzed soil samples, read mining journals like novels? Of course not. Because neither of you visited unless you needed something. That's not fair, Adam said quietly. No? I stepped toward the railing, gesturing to the land that stretched out around us. When was the last time you asked her about her life? Her dreams for this place? You saw a broken-down farm. She saw the future, and she made sure it went to someone who saw it too. Bianca's facade cracked. You can't just cut us out. We're family. Family? I turned sharply. Let me show you something. I led them into Grandma's study, the space now transformed into a command center of maps, charts, and weathered notebooks. I spread a stack of her journals across the desk, decades of research, her handwriting meticulous and alive. She knew about the deposit for years, I explained. But she also knew if she went public too soon, the land would be stripped, exploited, ruined. She protected it. And she left it to me, because she knew I would, too. They stood in silence, staring at the evidence of a woman they had never really known. She didn't leave you out of the will to punish you, I added. She did it to protect something bigger than all of us. It would have been easy to ruin everything, for the sake of quick profit. But Grandma wasn't impulsive. She waited. And she watched. I opened one of Grandma's journals to a page she had marked with a pressed leaf. He watched how Adam handled his investments, always chasing fast returns, never thinking about the long term. He watched Bianca squeeze every last dime out of her clients, never considering the communities she impacted. Their faces paled as I went on. And he watched me. Studying environmental science. Learning about sustainable development. Understanding that true value isn't just about what you earn, it's about what you leave behind. So this was his revenge, Adam muttered bitterly. Punishing us by giving everything to you. I shook my head. No. This was his legacy. He didn't give the farm to punish you. He gave it to the person he believed would protect it, who would use its resources to build something better, not just richer. I handed them each a folder from the desk. Inside are the preliminary plans for the Warren Sustainable Development Project. It's a model for responsible rare earth extraction. It includes a research center for green mining technology and a foundation to fund environmental science education. We're not just mining, we're rewriting how this work is done. They flipped through the papers silently, reading the diagrams, the sustainability protocols, the projected impacts and benefits. This isn't just about rare earth minerals, I continued. It's about changing how the world thinks about resource development. Yes, it will generate billions, but those billions will do more than just line our pockets. Bianca looked up, her eyes glassy. We never really knew her, did we? No, I said softly. You never tried. Adam still stared at the report, speechless. This technology, the environmental measures, this could change the entire industry. That's what she wanted, I said, smiling faintly. She used to say true wealth isn't about what you take from the land, it's about what you give back. They stayed quiet for a while after that. Maybe for the first time, really seeing the land. Seeing her. So, what now? Bianca asked finally. Where do we fit in? I took a deep breath. That depends on you. I'm establishing a board of directors to oversee the foundation's charitable initiatives. There are seats available, but they come with conditions. Adam narrowed his eyes. What kind of conditions? You have to earn them, I said firmly. Spend a year working in environmental conservation. Learn what sustainable development really means. Prove that you understand what Grandma was building. To my surprise, they both nodded slowly. She really was brilliant, Bianca murmured, glancing around the study. We just couldn't see it. As they left that evening, the sun bathed the barn in deep gold, just like it had the day I discovered her secret. Only now, the barn wasn't hiding anything. It stood proudly, no longer a disguise, but a monument. To patience. To vision. To the quiet kind of wisdom that sees value where others don't. The next few years changed everything, not just the farm, but the people connected to it. The Warren Sustainable Development Project became a national model for responsible resource use. And Grandma's legacy? It wasn't buried beneath the earth. It had taken root in all of us. The research center quickly gained global attention, drawing scientists from around the world who were eager to study sustainable mining practices. The foundation launched scholarship programs for students pursuing environmental science and green technology, something Grandma would have been proud of. Adam and Bianca eventually earned their seats on the board, though not without effort. The year they spent working in conservation reshaped them more than they ever expected. They learned what Grandma had always understood, that true wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in what you give back to the world. As for me, I still live in the old farmhouse. I watch the crops grow in the fields and the clean, efficient mining operation working quietly just beyond the trees. The land is alive, with purpose, with legacy. Sometimes, in the hush of evening, I sit in Grandma's study and open one of her journals, letting her words wash over me again. One passage in particular, her final entry, has stayed with me. Eliza, the greatest inheritance I can leave you isn't the minerals beneath this farm. It's the understanding that true value lies in what you create, what you protect, and what you pass on to future generations. She was right. She always was. The farm's greatest secret wasn't the rare earth elements hidden beneath its soil. It was the ability to see worth where others saw nothing, and the patience to let that worth rise, slowly and purposefully. Now, when someone calls the land worthless, I just smile. Because I know better. True value isn't always obvious. Sometimes, you have to look deeper. And sometimes, the most priceless things are hidden in plain sight, just waiting for someone patient enough to believe in them. If you've made it this far, thank you, for walking with me through this story, for seeing the value in what others called worthless. This journey wasn't just about minerals or money. It was about learning to trust myself when no one else did. And now, I want to ask something of you. Support this mission, not just mine, but the larger one, to see value in the overlooked, to protect what truly matters, and to invest in things that grow slowly but last forever. Leave a comment. Share your thoughts. Tell me what in your life felt dismissed or underestimated, and how you're learning to reclaim it. Because I know I'm not the only one who's ever been told they were the disappointment, the one with unrealistic dreams. And I know I'm not the only one proving them all wrong. To the ones like me, the quiet thinkers, the steady builders, the patient visionaries, don't let anyone rush you or make you feel small. Sometimes the strongest roots are the ones no one sees growing. You don't need approval to know your worth. You just need time, persistence, and the courage to look deeper. And here's my advice to you: protect what matters, even if no one else sees its value yet. Stand by your convictions, even when you're standing alone. Sometimes what looks like a dirt-covered field is the beginning of a future no one else has the vision to imagine. I believed in this land before the world did. Believe in your own land, your own potential, even when no one else does. And when they finally see it, smile. Because you knew all along. Now tell me, what's your hidden worth? Drop it in the comments. Let's remind the world that true value never shouts. It grows.